Hello everybody, welcome to Totally Tabled. My name is Shaggy, and today I'm running down my top 10 solo games of all time. These are my favorite games to play solo right now in 2022. As always, I just like to dive right in, so let's just get started. Number 10 is Coffee Roaster. I think this might have been the first solo-only game that I ever played. I remember I was really attracted to the art and the unusual gameplay. This is really that perfect coffee shop game, or maybe late at night when you're a little tired, you're drinking something a little heavier, and you just want something relaxing, easygoing. This is almost meditative. And yeah, even to this day, the gameplay here is pretty unique. It's got a little bit of a deck building vibe. You have a bag full of chips that represent sort of the unroasted coffee beans, and you're pulling them randomly out of the bag. There's some special abilities and different things you can do, and then you're upgrading them and putting them back in the bag. You just keep doing that over and over again, slowly making the bag better and better. And then at some point, you're going to stop and you're going to say, all right, I want to actually brew the cup. And then you just start pulling them out one at a time, putting them on this cup, and you're trying to achieve a certain value or have, certain tokens in there that represent flavor or different aspects of the coffee. So there's this push your luck or even sort of pure luck aspect, but it's all kind of based on what you've done before, how you've gotten your bag together, what special abilities you've unlocked. It's just a ton of fun. I mean, just pulling tokens from a bag is really fun if you've put them in those coin holders. There's actually another game on this list that uses those coin holders, but anytime you're pulling cardboard chips out of a bag, you want to put them in these coin holders. Then you just get the right tactile feel. Pulling them out of the bag is so much fun. Upgrading them, throwing them back in. And I'm just a sucker for this art style. I just think it looks so great. Yeah, so if you've never heard of this one, I recommend you checking it out. It's a lot of fun. Coffee Roaster, that's my number 10. Number 9 is both one of the oldest and one of the newest games on the list. This is Concordia with the Solitaire expansion. I've done a full solo playthrough of this one, so go check it out. Concordia was already one of my favorite multiplayer games. It has just a bunch of systems that I love. One of my favorite mechanisms, I think on BGG they call it action retrieval. You have these cards, which are your actions, and you play them out, but then you have to play a special card in order to get those cards back. And you're sort of incentivized to wait as long as possible to play them. That's really fun. I love that mechanism in any game. And it just works really well here because you're also drafting cards from a line of cards and adding it to your deck building, I guess, essentially. I never think of this as a deck building game, but you're building up your deck of actions. If you get a bunch of one kind of action, you can do that more often before you have to reset. Not only that, but the cards you're acquiring are also scoring multipliers at the end of the game. The cards you're acquiring are pushing you into certain directions to do certain things on the map. There's tons of maps. It's such a great, elegant Euro game. The theme is maybe, a little dry, but other than that, it's just really fun. And then this expansion comes in that adds a solo mode after all these years. And it does what I love most in a solo mode. And I think you're going to see this throughout the list, is it gets out of the way. It does not add a ton of rules overhead or like mental cognitive overhead. I can basically just play a game of Concordia and very simply run this AI that is getting in my way effectively, that's, taking things off the board, snatching things from me, something that I need to think about and play against and win against, but it's not, I'm not having to deal with flow charts and all the rest of it. And the fact that I can play it with all the different maps and the expansion and all this stuff, it's just such a great little expansion. For me, it's adding that solo mode that means I can bring Concordia to the table when it's just me. That's fantastic. Number 8 is The Loop. I'm going to keep this one really short because I've done a lot of coverage of this game. Go check out my full solo playthrough. I've also done sort of a quick review, and I talk about this game in my best of 2021 video. a fantastic cooperative game that adds a really neat twist in solo where you're playing with multiple characters, but you combine their decks together. And it gives you this little bit of strategic planning as you hand out these cards, deciding which character gets to go next. That little twist to the gameplay adds a lot of fun for me, which makes solo my favorite way of playing this game. I'm also a big fan of the cube tower here, which works really well. Love the art and the theme and the silliness of this one. I've said it once and I'm going to say it again. I'm not sure why this one is falling through the cracks, but don't miss out. This is a incredibly fun cooperative game. It's quickly becoming one of my favorite. There's an expansion coming out soon that I'm very excited about, but there's also multiple modules in the box, so this one has a ton of replayability. Seriously, don't sleep on this one. My number 8, The Loop. Number 7 is another quite new solo experience, and that is Lost Ruins of Arnak with the Expedition Leaders expansion. Without the expansion, not on the list. With the expansion, this has really become a high-level solo experience for me that I really, really enjoy. You can check out my full playthrough. I've done a full solo playthrough of this, both the base game and with the Expedition Leaders expansion. You should go check those out. But I really enjoy, again, simple AI system, doesn't get in the way, and just this acquiring cards, a little light deck building, worker placement. It's just fun. And the combos and the little mini games with these different leaders, it just really is a kind of interesting and surprisingly puzzly little experience. I love the idea of exploring these locations, and then there's these guardians there where you need to take care of them as well. So you explore, this guardian comes up, and now it's like, okay, I need to get the stuff together to deal with that guardian. And the fact that you're there means no one else can mess with it. So you have that entire round to try to get the stuff together that you need to take care of that guardian. That gives you a little benefit. You're working up these research tracks, and I love the additional research tracks that the expansion brings to the table. Some cool little tweaks there that are really fun. There's just always a lot you can do in Arnak. There's a surprising amount of ways you can get the thing that you need to do the thing you want to do. And I'm just a sucker for that kind of puzzliness. That's the kind of stuff that I really enjoy in these games. And Arnak definitely has it, especially with this expansion, which also shoots the replayability way up. I'm also a big fan of the little mini solo expansions that you can play on the web-based app. Again, check out the playthrough. You'll see all that in action. But I think that adds a little bit to spice it up, and you have those extra difficulty levels. There's even a full solo campaign that I haven't even tried yet. Believe me, that's super high on my list, but that's even more replayability. Just fantastic game, Lost Ruins of Arnak with the Expedition Leaders expansion. Number 6 is a little bit unexpected. It's At the Gates of Loyang. Now, one of the many great things about Rosenberg games is that they have well-designed, well-thought-out solo modes. I mean, he was way ahead of the curve on this. He's been doing it almost all of his big box Euro games. So you have a ton to pick from. And I think a lot of people would be choosing, maybe Nusfjord here, if that's how you pronounce that, or maybe Glass Road, or A Feast for Odin, something like that. Here I'm choosing At the Gates of Loyang, which I think is maybe for a lot of people, maybe their least favorite. It's certainly one of his most unusual designs. It's not just another worker placement farming Euro. It does something very different, has a very unique feel that I think throws a lot of people off, but it's what I really love about the game. And the amazing thing is this is a card drafting game. For the solo mode, you basically throw all that away, and you have a completely different way of drafting cards using this sort of really ingenious grid system where the cards sort of fall away and get replaced. It's very cool. It's a very fun system. And then after that, you're just playing a game of Loyang, sort of in a similar vein to Concordia. You just get to play the game. And for me, Loyang is such a satisfying puzzle. I love the idea of I'm getting these contracts and I've got these little farms going. I've produced a bunch of stuff on them, but that's sort of slowly going away, right? Every round I can pick one thing off of all my farms, but then that farm is going to go away. You have these long-term contracts where you have to fulfill that contract 4 times. And so, those first 2 times you might be fine, but then that field has gone away. And now it's like, I can't get pumpkins anymore. And I have to fulfill this contract 2 more times. How am I going to get more pumpkins? And so you sort of get into this really cool puzzle. And then the way the scoring works is kind of ingenious, where you're having to sort of buy points each round. The first point of the round only costs 1 coin. And then each additional point after that costs whatever the points would be. So maybe I have, 9 points at the beginning of a round. At the end, I'm going to be buying points. So that first point to get to 10, that's only 1 coin. But the next point would cost 11. Yeah, so you're trying to race up that track as fast as possible at the beginning of the game, and then towards the end just try to have enough money to try to get 2 or maybe if you're lucky 3 bumps up the track. And I find it very difficult very difficult to do well. It also has this really odd flow where on your turn you have this list of actions that you can do, and you can do any of them as many times as you want in any order. Except for one, where you can only do 1 time. You have this really weird, most games don't do that. Most games are very highly structured. Here, it's just like, yeah, you can do these actions, do them as much as you want, as many times, in any order, however you want to do it, and then just stop when you are done taking actions. And so I think that openness can maybe be overwhelming for some people, because it does matter the order that you do things in and how you go about what you're doing. But for me, I love that feeling. It's very interesting, and there's not a lot of games like that. So I think At the Gates of Loyang is a pretty special game. Love playing it solo. Number 6. Another game that I've done a full solo playthrough of, and that is Obsession. Man, this game has grown on me. Again, I'm sounding like a broken record here, but we've got the puzzly decision making, and we have a very simple AI that gets out of the way. These are clearly the things that I'm into. Obsession has it, along with a really neat, unique theme. Really great choices here as you're trying to manage your workforce and trying to sort of combo your workforce with the cards in your hand, these guests that are going to attend these activities, trying to get all that to line up just right. It's another one of those that is surprisingly challenging. Sometimes you can just sort of nail it. You're just right in rhythm. And then I've also had games where for some reason, I'm just out of sync. Like it's just not coming together right. And it's more of a struggle. It's just a very interesting game like that. A lot of replayability. And I love some of the variants that are in the back of the book that kind of spice things up a little bit. Especially how those court cards come out, or whatever they're called. Yeah, just really great, very tight economy. You're drafting these tiles. It's just really fun. Love this game. Obsession. Number 4. I'm riding the hype train, everyone. It's Sleeping Gods. Probably shouldn't have put it on here, but I just can't help myself. I'm just smitten. This is so new. I'm currently, as I'm recording this, putting playthroughs together for this game, but I just love it. And again, this is just one that just hits me in the right spot. I love when a solo game has a story. You're going to see that here as we get higher up on the list. I'm a big fan of that and of exploration in games. I love the idea of going somewhere new and finding out what's there, making decisions about what to do, and it's just so much fun. The open world, the quests, the exploration, and the combat system. I am really, really enjoying this combat system. watch the playthrough, to find out more, but put your enemy together, you put them in a line, and there's a grid, and you're sort of attacking this grid and trying to decide, oh, if I take out their hand, then they'll do less damage, but if I hit them in the leg, that will take their health down. I keep saying the same thing over and over again, but it's, a lot of these games share similar attributes, and they're things that I really enjoy. And that combat system is surprisingly strategic and puzzly as you're working out exactly where to go after, who to go after, what parts of the grid to attack. It's just so much fun. I mean, there's so much here. I can't wait to dive into it more. It's a game that has taken over all of my play for a little while here, which is problematic. I need to do other things, but I just want to keep playing it. It's just a really smart, interesting design. That's Sleeping Gods. Number 3, I sort of mentioned in passing, and it's A Feast for Odin. This is my favorite solo Rosenberg game. I love the other ones. Here's a little sneaky option for you. I think Hallertau is actually excellent as a solo game. That's one to check out if you haven't. But yeah, this is my favorite, A Feast for Odin. I mean, I'm not even that big into these polyomino style games, but here it's just joyous putting these things together, covering up all those negative spots, surrounding the goods to get that income. Oh man, it's just so much fun. And the solo system here is ingenious. Absolutely ingenious. Hey, just take 2 groups of player pieces. In one round, you're going to use one type, and you're going to leave those on the worker placement spots. And then the next round, they're blocking you and use another type. And just keep doing that. You're constantly just blocking yourself. You're getting in your own way. It's forcing you to not just do the same action over and over and over again. And it just works. It just works great. I love it. The Norwegians expansion is also fantastic, but you don't even need that. The base game is good enough. There's always something new you can try. There's a huge deck of cards. The cards aren't really that important in this game, I don't think. Maybe I'm playing it wrong, but they give you a little something each game, a little something different. Maybe you can do it, maybe you don't. I think the hunting and the fishing kind of mechanisms are really well done. I really enjoy that. A little bit of push your luck. I don't know. It just works so well solo. I don't think a lot of people are going to disagree with that choice. A Feast for Odin. Number 3. Well, and speaking of safe picks, my number 2 is Gloomhaven. And you can just put the whole series of games in here, just lump them together. The Gloomhaven system, huge fan of these. The card combat system is just to die for. I mean, I absolutely love it. I mean, such a simple idea. Just, you have a top and a bottom part of a card. You pick 2 cards. You're going to play the top on one, the bottom on the other, right? Some of the really awesome effects cause you to lose the card, and the cards are both your sort of stamina and health. So you got to really be smart about your timing, when you use certain things, how you're managing your cards. It's so thinky. And that seems like such a clash with this sort of dungeon crawl, kind of theme, but it just works so well. And going through this campaign, many times I would lose the first time and then win it the second time. Having learned from my mistakes that first round, I was able to get over the hump the second time. That happens so many times, and that's the sign of a really great system where, clearly it's my own mistakes, right? It's the things that I'm doing. And, the story is fine. I kind of enjoy the world and the characters, but that's not really what I'm here for, right? I'm here for that card play, upgrading those cards, going into a dungeon, trying to puzzle out how best to use the cards. Yeah, just tremendous fun. I agree with everyone else who loves this game. Gloomhaven. My number 1 solo game has been my favorite solo game for a really long time. It's also my favorite cooperative game, and just one of my favorite games in general. This is Robinson Crusoe Adventures on the Cursed Island. My favorite way to play this is three-handed, so playing with three characters, which is not something I normally like to do. But here it works out really well because, first of all, the characters have four special abilities which really don't change. So it's really easy to internalize their special abilities. And also, each character only gets to take one or two actions per round. And so at most, you have 6 different actions going on, and it's very easy to keep track of. I just personally like to not have to play with the Friday card and the dog card, which you have to use if you're playing with 1 or 2 players. But I mean, gosh, what can you say about this game that hasn't been said already? I mean, first of all, the theme here is so fantastic. Love exploration, love survival, and this really captures that. The highlight here is a very simple system where you're either going to have a character do one action really well, essentially using the whole day to do that one action, in which case they won't have to roll for it. They'll just be able to accomplish the action straight away. Or you split up their actions and they do 2 actions, but they're doing them with more risk involved. And so you have to roll dice. They might get injured. They might actually fail to do the thing that they were trying to do. And you might have these events come up, which have an immediate effect. And then oftentimes you put that card back into the event deck, shuffle it up, and it's going to come back again. And you're going to experience usually bad consequences in the future, which creates this ongoing story. This game tells a story better than almost any game does. So many games, their approach to storytelling is to have a storytelling book or to have some sort of linear campaign where you're reading these passages at various points, maybe making decisions. Here, there's very little text involved. The story emerges out of the gameplay as you're doing these things. It creates very compelling and memorable moments. And it's all based on the strategic decisions that you're making, trying to survive, trying to accomplish whatever goal that you need to accomplish. Also, this isn't just one game. This is a gaming system with all of these modules, many of which play dramatically different from one another, which creates infinite replayability. Each of these modules, each of these different stories, you're mostly playing the same game, but there's a bunch of new rules, and it really creates a different experience. And you can replay those modules over and over and over again. It really does feel like having, in the base game, 6 different games. And then there's all of these expansions and extra promo modules and stuff. This is a huge game. Probably a game I've played more than almost any other game. And there you go. That's my #1 solo game, Robinson Crusoe. That's it, everyone. 10 great solo games. Thank you so much for watching, and goodbye.